Hey guys, in this video we'll be solving a React interview problem called dynamic checkboxes. So here we have to show a particular number of checkboxes on the UI and it should be dynamic such that it should come from a data. So if the data has 4 items, then we have to show 4 checkboxes on the UI. The checkbox toggle functionality should work properly, and also it should have a check all button on click of which all the checkboxes should get checked. And if all the checkboxes are checked, the check all button should get disabled. So we'll just start developing this. So here I have an empty React app. I'll just start by creating our data first. So here I'll just initialize a state and I'll call it checkboxes data. So it will be an array of objects and each object will correspond to a checkbox. So the checkbox will be having 2 fields here. It will be having a title, which will be the name of the checkbox. So just call it 1. And also it should have a is checked field, whether the checkbox is checked or not. So I'll initialize to false. So let's say we want to have 4 checkboxes. So I'll just duplicate this data 4 times. And I'll just rename the titles. We'll call it 2, 3, and 4. So now I'll just start by creating a simple UI. I'll just loop over our checkbox data to show the checkboxes in the UI. So I'll loop over this checkboxes data. I'll return a div first. So here first will be showing the checkbox, which will be an input of type checkbox, and also will be showing a label with the name of the checkbox. So the name will be item dot title. Now I'll just save this so we can see our 4 checkboxes. Now we can just try clicking on it. Also, we'd like to click on the title also, and the checkboxes functionality should work. Right now it's not working when I'm clicking here. So for that, I'll just add an ID to it. So I'll just treat index as an ID and I'll write an HTML4 item here. So this ID should match with HTML4. Now if we click on the text also, the checkbox functionality should trigger. Yeah. So now I'd like to work on the checkbox toggle functionality. So I'll just format this a bit. So for this checkbox input will be having a checked field. So it will be item dot is checked. And I'll also add an on change function. So I'll call it handle checkbox click. Okay. So for this handle checkbox click function, we'll be needing 2 attributes. One is the event, the click event we have to capture, and another is the title where we have clicked. So I'll just pass the event first, and the title will be item dot title. So these 2 arguments, I'll just name it here. It's event, and for the item dot title, I'll just rename it to click title. So here in this function, I'll just loop over our data. I'll find the matching title where I have clicked, and for that I'll just toggle the is checked value. So first I'll just create a variable here. I'll call it updated data. So now I'll just loop our existing checkbox data. Now if item dot title matches with the click title, then I have to toggle the is checked value. So if item dot title matches with click title, then first I'll just copy the existing items of the object, and then I'll just toggle the is checked value. So is checked will be not of item dot is checked, and if it's not matching the item, then I'll just return the existing thing. So else return item. Now I'll just update the state. I'll set checkboxes data to updated data. This will be updated data. So I'll just refresh it. Yeah, this is working. Also, I'll console the value of checkboxes data when it's being updated. So you can see the state being updated. I'll just open up the terminal here. So it's giving a key error. So also I'll add a key. We'll treat index as key. Now I'll just refresh this. Okay. So right now it's printing the existing data. Now if I click on, let's say 3. So now here we can see for the third item is checked value has become 2. Now I'd like to work on our mark all button. So below our checkboxes, I'll add a button. I'll call it mark all. Also I'll add on-click function here. So let's just call it handle mark all. So here also the logic will be similar to the above function. Here instead of checking this if block, we'll just loop over everything, and for all of them, instead of toggling, we'll just make the is checked value as true. So I'll just write another variable here, data. We could also do it in the set state itself, but just to have a bit of clarity, I'm adding a separate variable. So we'll be looping over our checkboxes. So here we'll just return the existing item, and along with that, its is checked value will make it as true. And now we have to update our state also. So we'll update with the updated data. And now here in the UI, I'll just refresh. I'm clicking here, this is working fine. Now if I click mark all, this is working fine. Now for the last functionality, we have to disable our mark all button when all the items are checked. So for that, I'll just create a new state here. I'll call it as is mark all disabled, and I'll initialize to false. So this I'll also add to the button. Disabled will be the state. Now when all the items are checked, we have to make the state as true, and if this is true, then the button will get disabled. Now I think we've already written an effect to console the data here. Now every time the checkboxes data changes, we have to check if all the items are checked or not. So for that, I'll just create a variable here. All checked, I'll call it. So now to check if all are checked or not, we can use the JavaScript array.every method. So simply we can do this dot every item, if item dot is checked equals true. So array.every method will return a boolean based on this callback, right? So this should have the value. So we'll just update our state now. This will be all checked. Now I'll just try checking these checkboxes one by one. Now when I click on fourth, yes, you can see this is different. Also, if I click on the mark all button, all are checked and this gets disabled. Yeah, thanks for watching.